Got a few comments here with head coach Rich Rodriguez post-practice, and he started with an overview of today's workout.
We're in shells, which is shoulder pads, so he didn't go live, did some thud. I thought it was okay. There's some moments that looked good and some not so good. And my message to the team afterwards was pretty much about how, as coaches, we take great responsibility on increasing everybody's value. I've heard Coach Saban say that many times down in Alabama, that one of the coach's main jobs is to decrease the value of every one of your players. And now the value is monetized so much, whether it's on the college level or hopefully they get to play the next level. And our job as coaches is to make sure they get coached and get better every day, every time that we're with them. And we're going to do that. We're going to coach them. And sometimes that's not always pleasant. But our guys, I think, understand that. And I think collectively we've gotten better. Individually they've gotten better. And they got 2 more practices, Wednesday and, of course, Saturday, to try to take another step. And then, obviously, your summer workouts.
So improvements in the spring, and coaches have a lot to sort out with almost a completely new roster, and you want to build depth. You also want to – well, first of all, you have to identify the guys that you can win with.
Yeah, there's no question. And that's listen, there's a lot of new guys out on that roster that they're trying to evaluate. So you talk to these guys, I'm sure they'd like to have 15 more practices to be able to get a look at this before next time we see this team back on the field,
yeah.
Kyle. It will be August, and we'll be in go time at that point.
Coach was asked about tempo, and this is a question Greg Hunter asked. Did they play at the tempo last year that he wanted to?
No, not even close. And part of that's because we couldn't get first downs at times, couldn't run the ball like we needed to run it. You know, the only way to play with tempo and pace is get first downs, whether you throw it or run it. And we didn't get nearly enough first downs, and so that puts a burden on the defense. And that's, you know, obviously a point of emphasis. But, you know, when we've had successful offenses and we're scoring a lot of points, we were controlling the tempo. And I've always, you know, it's part of what we do, how we are, and then obviously if we get to the fourth quarter and have a 2-score lead, I'm trying to win the game then. You know, now we're gonna squeeze that clock down as much as we can, but we have to be in great shape, and we're going to play with tempo. Now in practice we do both. You know, we do defensive tempo because our defense will not always see fast stuff, so they need to have an ability to see a regular break out of a huddle kind of deal, and then we'll have offensive tempo. So usually our practices are mixed between those two.
All right, so a little bit more on tempo. The coach was asked about his philosophy. They got pretty deep into this, but let's listen in on Coach Rodriguez, his philosophy of playing at a high tempo.
As a defensive player, I always thought the hardest thing to go against was somebody's 2-minute drill. And you ever watch a team that struggles the whole game, then they get in their 2-minute drill right before half, and they go up and down the field. And I'm like, let's just try that the whole game. What do we got to lose? We'll get 5 little dumpy linemen to get run over slowly. Give me a quarterback that can throw it around a little bit, like a Jed Drenning. Give me some receivers that can catch and move in the open field like Chris George. And it was different. You know, the run and shoot was in vogue a little bit in the NFL, but it was an under center, and the drop was at kind of a 5 o'clock turn, a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock turn. So it was, he turned his back all the time, and everybody would blitz from the backside. And I think Warren Moon probably got sacked more than anybody in the history because everybody would blitz from the backside. So I'm like, well, we're a shorter quarterback. Let's back him up for his vision. All right, and then the drop is already there, so it just a guy could come unblocked and he could still get rid of it. And so that's kind of what we did. It was shotgun, spread out, fast, no huddle, and it fit us. And it was new and different. And so the genesis, the base of what we do to this day started back there with Jed and those guys at Glenville.
Wow, going all the way back to the Glenville State days.
We got a Jed and Chris George mentioned there out of Rich Rod here, version 2.0.
Well, we're deep into spring, right? we're deep into spring. Okay, how about a depth chart? Will there be, of course they won't release it publicly, but will the coaches have in their mind or up on the whiteboard in the office a depth chart after the spring game Saturday?
We're going to have a depth chart, but it's not going to be finalized till the end of August camp. But on Friday, Saturday's scrimmage, we split the team up into blue and white, because we had blue and white practice jerseys. But and we scrimmaged with it the other day, and I really liked the intensity and the competitiveness of us. It was mixed guys we think will be ones, and some of the guys we think will be ones were on that white team, some were on the blue team. And so it was really competitive. It was a competitive practice, competitive scrimmage, and we'll do that with the spring game. And I'll have some kind of consequences for the winners and the losers, and they seem to enjoy that part of it.
He has mentioned that a lot, scrimmaging a little bit more, going live, as they say, more this spring than perhaps in years past, because, again, you've got so many players to evaluate.
I think they feel that they've got better talent, better depth, so you're able to do that, number one. And then number two is he has mentioned multiple times the evaluation process, right? And the best way to do that is to put them live on live and try and see what you have here from all these different units, because with so many new parts, you're evaluating, Kyle, literally at every position on the field, position group.
Special teams, he did mention last week that they've caught the ball okay. They've practiced that, obviously, with the jugs machine or whatever, the ball coming down out of the air like a sack of cement. But in terms of live special teams, where are they there?
We're going to do a lot of special teams on Wednesday. We won't have any live special team on a Saturday. So it's kind of hard. And the hardest part about it is you got to teach them. And so before you get it taught, you don't want to go live before they're really taught, because you don't want to run into the punter or getting hurt that way.
Are you a little behind there, maybe, or have you done enough to your liking?
No, I've always, I mean, we'll do field goal and punt block, and Wednesday we'll do some kickoff return. But we're in short, so what are you going to tell from that? So we'll have a lot of special teams in August camp. So I think sometimes, we're not ever going to neglect it. I think it's so important.
Yeah.
But I also think sometimes special teams coaches will try to do too much. Like the same way with offensive defensive coaches. They want to be the smartest guy in the room. They have all these fancy schemes and stuff like that, whereas, it's still just 11 guys, we're playing checkers, not chess. We're not trying to think 4 moves ahead. We're just trying to think the next move.
All right, so some thoughts on special teams there to wrap up day 13 of spring practice, the 14th practice Wednesday, and then the Gold and Blue Festival on Saturday.
Two things. That wasn't a rant, but it could have. If you would have done maybe a little follow-up there and prodded, we might have got a Rich Rod rant there to end camp. Number two, this is an interesting time this year compared to last year because the portal's not reopening. There was just the one portal time, so you will not have the shuffling after spring practice that you did last year. So that's something to keep in mind here as we wrap up the spring.
Yeah, he's mentioned that too, the fact that you gotta be sure you've got what you need, because you can't go back into the portal this spring and bring in new guys. There are a handful of guys that have signed that haven't reported yet, but for the most part, that's the team, man.